Hey everybody, Pastor Matt here. I'm coming to you on Tuesday, April the 28th. We're almost into May, and I'm very thankful that we can be connected like this and we can try to do our best to communicate what's going to be next and to find ways to be able to encourage you. So I'm going to try and do half of communicating, half of encouragement to let you know what's going on. So first with the communication part, thank you for all of you who checked in and were watching the service this past Sunday on Big Prayer, basking in God's power and presence. We were looking at Ephesians 3:14-21, and I was looking up, and Alistair Begg actually broke that passage into three different sermons, and so there was a lot to pack in. But I'm hoping that it's going to be a catalyst for us to make sure that we are seeking God with that big prayer, that we're basking in God, and that we're seeking Him with that big prayer moving forward. It's coming Sunday. We're going to be talking about Big Think, looking at a Christian worldview. Because even in this type of situation and setting that we're in right now, we need to be thinking Christianly. We need to be thinking with a Christian worldview. And we'll talk a little bit more about that on the Friday update. But go ahead and start reading up on Romans 1:18-32. And I think that'll help us to be able to really go headlong into this, into Sunday, and into that passage of Scripture that's so very important for us. I really appreciate Charles Boswell, who's over the pastoral care aspects of our Colorado Baptist. He passed along in one of the forums that we have for Colorado Baptist, he passed along something from Facts and Trends, which is a LifeWay ministry. It just basically helps us pastors to recognize not only what's been happening, what is happening, but what's going to be happening from what they can tell. And they're usually pretty astute on these things. So I'm grateful for that. The title of the article is 24 Questions Your Church Must Answer Before Welcoming People Back. Okay, so I feel like over the last few times I've been with you that I've been I just feel like it's my job to let you know the reality of the situation as best as we can see it, but also to try to prepare you for what's to come, because what's coming is gonna look different. There's just I don't think we're ever going to go back to where we were before this happened. And we can, like we have with other eras, we can really moan about it and groan about it, or we can just say, okay, well, this is the new normal. Here we go. Let's roll up our sleeves and kick in. And so basically what he's talking about is a lot of the things that we took for granted as far as what ministry was supposed to be doing is it's shaken up a little bit. So I'm not going to go through all 24, but I'll link to it to where you can look at it as well, because I'd love to have a conversation about this. But we've already talked about the first one is what happens if we end up only going to, having just 50 or 100 people that are able to meet. Well, we'll adjust with different types of services and such. So just please keep that in mind. That's the question that a lot of churches, regardless of their size, are now asking. When it comes to Lord's Supper and baptism and choir ministry, and even with our Sunday school ministry, where everybody is in a small room all together, social distancing will be very, very tough. And even when the things are lifted, we don't know what it's going to look like. So is that going to be something we're going to be able to snap back into? Honestly, up front, until we know a little more and until there's a vaccine, I don't know how many people are going to be ready to do that. Maybe there's a way that we can accomplish this, but I think it's something we've got to really be aware of and really be thinking about. Like Vacation Bible School, they're actually coming up with ways where you can do VBS at home, or you can still do a traditional VBS or something that's out in the parking lot. There's ways that people are thinking about these alternatives of what Vacation Bible School looks like. But for us, as I've already told you a few weeks back, we've already canceled the reservation that we had up at Clarkson Park, so we're not going to be doing it like we have been doing it before. We're probably going to kick it down to August and do something that's more of a back-to-school type of deal. The offering, passing the plate, I believe we're going to end up having to go and rely on boxes in the back and online, or people dropping it off or mailing it in. I honestly think the days of passing the plate, at least for the foreseeable future, are done. I do appreciate our members and guest services crew and how well they have helped welcome people in. But honestly, what's that going to look like? Are we going to be able to have? These are questions we're asking. We don't necessarily have answers, but are we going to be able to have greeters at the door? Are people going to feel comfortable going through a small space with someone right there? Are we going to be able to have something in place, which I believe we will, and I know we will, I should put it that way, to where we'll be able to sanitize and sterilize the church building quickly? When we talk about hosting of special events, maybe even offering children's church coffee stations on campus. I mean, we're getting down to this. Number 10 was the one that concerns us. So what is your plan for when volunteers step down? I'm already hearing that older volunteers are telling church leaders that they aren't coming back to church to serve, rather, until the vaccine is readily available. It's just too risky. That's a reality. That's just a reality. So being able to do all of these things that we've been doing before, I'm just scanning this to make sure I caught everything. Okay, like counting attendance, because I know there's certain ministries that they look at the attendance average in order to be able to make decisions on how they're going to move forward for the next year. Well, okay, right now, how are we doing that? I believe what we're going to end up having to do is just to look at our needs and rely on the offerings that many of you are giving, so that we are able to utilize the resources and utilize the tools to be able to move forward in a way that's going to be more technologically savvy. I've talked about this a lot, and I don't want to overburden everybody with this, but that's really what's going to end up happening. I see we're at the 6-minute mark. And so I want to be sure that we're leaving time for encouragement. One of the things that they did bring up is Sunday school curriculum. Many times we've used quarterlies, but with the social distancing and the new emphasis on virtual groups, is there a way that we can utilize more electronic ways of being able to engage the scriptures? Is there a way we can learn how to engage the scripture maybe without these quarterlies? We were doing the 7 Arrows study on Wednesday night, and that's really one of the reasons why we wanted to do that. We wanted to do that because we wanted to have our teachers. Hopefully, we've been having people engaged in that. If not, we're going to redo it again. So our teachers would be able to know how to lead a class, how to lead a discipleship study without having to be so reliant on what someone else has written on their behalf. So we've got to be thinking through a lot of these different things. Here's the thing I want to encourage you about. Sometimes we get so logistically and administratively thinking, which most of the stuff I've talked to you about is kind of like that. But I believe, and we've already been talking with people that have a gift like this, there is going to be a rise in COVID-related addictions. This was number 20 on this. It says, one mental health expert said in a webinar meeting last week, I'm hearing that porn sites are giving away free memberships during COVID-19, just what people don't need. In that same webinar last week on mental health, the presenter assured the audience that substance abuse is on the rise. Alcohol sales are soaring. He cautioned us to be ready to do lots of counseling and referring people to professionals in our post-COVID-19 reality. So, right, let's talk about resources. Let's talk about logistics. Let's talk about that. But those are secondary compared to caring for people that are struggling with so many things regarding mental and spiritual health. We've got to be ready to access all the resources we can to be able to help in that way as well. So I just want to encourage you. The sermon series that we're doing is not simply just a sermon series to help us develop a deeper interest in the scriptures. It's develop a deeper well in our inner being so that the Spirit is leading us in what we need to be doing. There are so many things that are going on, but if we have idols of how everything used to be, and we were spending our time bowing down to those idols, and yet now these idols seem to be gone. However, we used to be able to think about church, these are gone. I think that's a gift to us. I think God is giving this as a gift because it's not just about our needs and our comfort. Right now, it is about making sure that we are taking care in the best way possible of everybody that is going to be around us. Don Whitney says there's a hurt in every heart. Well, those hurts are being exacerbated during this time. We've got to make sure that we are doing all that we can to make sure that we are able to help people when they are going through these financial and mental and spiritual and emotional struggles. So I may be doing one more update because I want to keep this really at 10 minutes. But if there's something that you're struggling with or a need that you may have, I would really encourage you, please let me know. Please let your deacon know. Please let your Sunday school teacher know. Please find a friend. Please call friends. Make sure that you're reaching out to people that are that you may think, well, there may be widows who may be isolated. There may be people who are struggling with finances that may just need someone to talk to and someone to help. We've got to be reaching out to everybody and not just assuming that someone else is doing it. We need to be the ones that are stepping up to do that. And are you? And will you? And will you be willing to say whatever it takes to make sure that we are taking care of everyone and helping people still engage in the gospel and still engage in the word and still care for each other? Those are the questions that we have to be asking ourselves. Hey, thanks a lot, everybody.